So when I say hyperlink, who in here knows what I'm talking about? What is a hyperlink? Anybody know? It's kind of a technical term. I mean, you know what they are. It's just a technical term you've probably never heard of before. A hyperlink is any time, like on a web page or in a document, where you can click on something and it takes you somewhere else. It takes you to a different web page, it takes you to a different file, it takes you to your calendar or to email or whatever. If you can click on something and it takes you somewhere else, the technical term for that thing that you're clicking on, it's called a hyperlink. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we're going to create in our PowerPoint hyperlinks that will take us to places like on the internet. So it's a great way to add into your PowerPoint like videos from YouTube, for instance, that you don't actually have to reference the videos that are hyperlinked because you didn't actually borrow them. You just showed people how to get to them. And the videos are being displayed in exactly the same mode as the original creator of the video wanted them displayed, aren't you? Because you're just linking to them. So you don't have to download anything, you don't have to borrow anything, you don't have to cite anything or reference it. Okay, you just link to it. They're actually pretty awesome way to do things in some PowerPoints. The thing about a hyperlink is in order to create one, you need two parts. Obviously, you need to know what people are going to click on because computers are specific. You can't just assume anything. You have to specifically decide what people are going to click on, and then you also have to specifically decide where the computer's going to take them when they click on it, whatever that is. You kind of have to build hyperlinks in reverse order though. The first thing you need is where are you going to take the click? So, for an example, just going to head to YouTube, grab a video quick. So, on the internet, I'm just going to roll to YouTube. This is a pretty funny video right here. Whether it has an ad or not, the URL doesn't change. So this is still what you want. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to copy it, which I just did with Control-C, or you can right click and go to copy if you want to do it the slow way. So then I'm done with that, right? Now the second part of it, I need to know or decide which part of my slide people are going to click on. And it literally could be anything that you could right click on. For instance, I can make it specifically like this word. Okay, what I don't want to see is people just pasting a URL on the page. Here's why. And you see a lot of people do just the URL on the page, right? You see that quite frequently. But personally, I think that looks terrible. Because if you do it correctly, it actually looks pretty nice. So if I want to make this word right here a hyperlink, I just highlight the word and then I right click it. You can also go to insert up here and there's a hyperlink button, but I like the right click, it's faster. And down about 3/4 of the way down that right click menu is an option for hyperlink. You click it. Now, this insert hyperlink dialog box comes up. All you have to do is paste your URL in that address bar down at the bottom there. I did that with Control-V, and then you just click OK and watch what happens. See how this actually incorporates directly into your slides format or your design, that kind of thing. All it does is make it bright blue and underlined. Way better looking than this. Way more professional looking than this. All right. Notice when I click on this, nothing happens, by the way. I mean, if you do this on your page, you'll notice that nothing happens, so don't freak out. That's because right now I'm in editing mode, right? So if I wanted to click on that and type or change or whatever, it's going to allow me to do that. If I want the hyperlink to actually work, I have to actually be in the slideshow. So if I'm in the slideshow like this, now notice when my mouse gets over that hyperlink, it turns into that little finger and like the URL pops out. And if I click on that, it opens up a web page and goes directly to that video and starts playing. which is what's kind of cool about the way YouTube does it, is it just starts playing. You can even do it full screen. I've got my sound off here for a second, but if you do it full screen, blah, blah, blah. Another great thing is if you're done with this, whenever you get done with your video, you close that window and you're right back to your slideshow. Like you didn't skip a beat. You're ready to just keep presenting. Now, if you wanted your hyperlinks to be even more hidden, let's say you've got a presentation that sometimes a lot of your audience asks a ton of questions, but sometimes they don't. And you still want to fill like your 30-minute time slot. So if you have some videos or some, interesting anecdotes or whatever that you want to add in there, any kind of hyperlinks, you can actually hide them completely pretty easily. Like let's say, so I still have that same URL, I still have that copied, but notice I can right click on this picture and turn it into a hyperlink. See, there's the hyperlink option in the menu right there. And if I paste my URL that I still have for that talking dog video in there and click OK, I just made that picture a hyperlink. And can you even tell? Did it change it at all? See how well that like blends into your design and your PowerPoint? Now tell me that that doesn't look better than this. Now also, I'll go back to my slideshow. And you can see that now I've got, see that picture is legit a hyperlink. See that? If I click on it, it opens up the web page, it goes right to that video and starts playing. Just like it did last time. A third way to make a hyperlink, which is kind of convenient for some people, is you can actually create your own button. Pretty easy actually. If you go to the Insert tab right here, you've got this whole menu right here of different shapes that you can add to your slide. So let's say I'm just going to pick a simple one. Let's just pick one of these. I just draw out a shape. Boom. Now right now that's just a shape. One of the great things about this though is I can actually type right inside of it. If I just start typing, it just goes right inside there, and then I can change whatever I want to about that. In order to make this button into an actual hyperlink, what do you think I have to do? Just right click it. Same as all the other ones. Hyperlink. Put the URL in the bottom. Okay, done. Hyperlink. It also doesn't actually look like a hyperlink except for the fact that it says click here or whatever you want it to say. But if you are in your slideshow and you click that button, and you can make it any color or size or shape that you want. Like the options are pretty much limitless. Anyways, straight back to my slideshow. Then I can continue with my slides all the way through to the end. Hyperlinks. 3 solid ways of doing that. The key is get your URL first. Right click on whatever you want to turn into the link and just go to hyperlink. Super easy. And a little warning. These pictures are so invisible. Like if you put a hyperlink behind a picture, it's so invisible that I'm not going to find it unless you throw me a bone somewhere. You're going to have to say, click picture 4. Now in a regular PowerPoint, you wouldn't do that. Having a hyperlink in a picture is pretty awesome because let's say you've got a nice funny video behind one of your pictures, but you've already talked too much and your time is running out. You could skip that video and nobody'd even know. Or you could click it if you needed extra material to fill the time. You could click it and go into your video and show your funny video. You can have one of these hyperlinks, by the way. It doesn't have to just take you to the internet. It can take you anywhere. It can take you to other slides in your presentation. You can have it open up an email client and send a message to a certain person. That's pretty easy. You can have the hyperlinks do just about anything. Animations and sounds. By sounds, in the real world, you could just add background music to your whole presentation, which you guys may have seen in the past. Somebody do, but for some reason, the district has that kind of locked out. It doesn't work. So I'm going to show you a different way to do sounds that are basically just for bringing people's attention back to your slideshow. that are capable of being done here at the district. But if you were going to actually insert a sound like legit at home or at a business, you'd literally just go to insert audio, and you could either record a greeting or something, or you could just do like an MP3 or whatever that's on your PC, that kind of thing. But for these machines, that's kind of locked out. It doesn't work. So to do animations, now here's what I'm talking about when I talk about animations. I'm not talking about like a dancing banana animated GIF that you found on the internet. That's not what I'm talking about. PowerPoint has its own sets of animations. And any object on the slide can be animated. So this is the way I like to do it. First thing, if I'm going to start throwing in animations, and remember, animations are used to keep people interested in your slideshow. If you use them too much, people get motion sick. All right, I've seen that happen. So be judicious with them. Use them where they need to be used, but don't overuse them. So I like to go immediately when I'm going to start setting up my animations, which is usually after I've got my whole slideshow like locked in. It's all, down on the slides and I'm ready to start dressing it up. I go to the animations tab at the top, but I also like to turn on this animation pane over here on the right. There's the button for it. So I've got two places that I can mess with animations here, because each one of these gives me different options. So let's say I want to animate this button that I made. And you can animate any object on the slide, doesn't matter. I'm just going to animate the button. There are three kinds of animations you can add. You can add an entrance animation, which is how that button's going to come onto the slide. You can add an emphasis animation, which means that if it's on the slide at one point in time, it does something to call people's attention to it. And you can add an exit animation. Now, it's fairly rare that anybody does all three. Like I said, it's more about holding people's attention. So to add an animation, I've got this, the thing I want animated is clicked on. You can see it's got the resizing handles around the outside, so it's active. And then there's this add animation button up here. So I open that up, and it not only gives me the three types, entrance, emphasis, or exit, but it tells me I can decide which one I want. So to keep this simple, I'm just going to do a fly in. Notice it flies in by default from the bottom, but I can change that right here. Okay, let's say I want it to fly in from the bottom left. Right, so I just changed that to fly in from a different zone. Also notice that by default, it's going to start on click. That means that if I'm in my slideshow, notice I have no button down there because I haven't clicked yet. It's waiting to start that animation on click. That's what that means. So if I click, it doesn't go to the next slide. It brings that button in the way I asked it to, from the lower left as a fly-in. Now, sometimes you want to leave the animations to start on click, but let's say I add another, let's add an emphasis animation. It's going to spin. That's really slow though, so I'm going to speed it up. Instead of a 2-second spin, I'm going to do like a 3/4 second spin. Let's try that. That's a little bit better. Anyways, so it's going to come in, it's going to spin. Notice my animation for the spin effect is also on click. So if I now add an animation to exit, let's say we're just going to do, I don't know, float out, but we're going to do up. No, I don't like that. I'm going to change that one to, just going to remove that one and add a fly out and change that to fly out to top right. Now, since all three of those animations, which are on the same object, are all set to start on click, here's what I get. It waits for me to click. There's no button yet. I click, here it comes. Now it's just waiting for me again. I click again. It spins. It's just waiting again because all my animations are set to start on click. So now if I want this to disappear, I got to click again. Now I'm free to go to my next slide. If you have multiple animations and you leave that to start on click all the time, you're going to be clicking hundreds of times to get through your PowerPoint. So you got to be kind of careful with that. So here's your other options. Like let's say I wanted my fly in, which is this top one, the green one, says fly in right there. I'm just going to have that happen with previous. So the previous thing, since this is the first animation, the previous thing that happened was the slide showed up. So it's going to automatically fly in with no click. Then this one is kind of interesting. This is where the two options, you've got these other two options, with previous or after previous, they make a big difference. Because check out with this spin, what happens if I set it for after previous? Okay, let me go back to my slideshow and show you for real. Okay, so it came in and then it spun, right? Did you see that? And I didn't have to click for either one. But let's say I do this effect, not after previous, but with previous. Now watch what I get. See how as it was coming in, it was spinning? Because it did the spin and the fly in at the same time. So that's with previous or after previous. So you can have it do 2 or 3 animations at the same time. If that makes sense, you have to make sure to put it on with previous instead of after previous. So I'm going to actually change that to after previous again. So to just do that automatically. Now this leave effect, I'm going to just leave that on click. So now here's what I've got. It comes in and it spins all by itself, gets people's attention, something's moving, and then it waits for me, and then I click and it leaves. And then that's it. So here's how we're going to do sounds. Because you can't just insert a regular sound on these machines. At home you'd be able to do that. At work you'd be able to do that. Just here you can't. So here's how we're going to do sounds. Each one of these animations can have a sound associated with it. To get to it, you come over here in your animation pane, you right click it, and you go to Effect Options. In your Effect Options right here, you should have a sound menu. Now these are just preloaded sounds. So you can pick whatever you want in there, but at least that gets some sound in your PowerPoint. You can test it. Oh, we set the volume here. So now what I've got is, it comes in, it spins all by itself. I can click on it to go to the website. See, it didn't count that click as a PowerPoint click. It counted it as a hyperlink click. But now if I click again, it does the sound and leaves at the same time. Now, if you remember when we were talking about the PowerPoint guidelines, I am expecting at least 2 hyperlinks. If you put them behind a picture, make sure I can find them. I'm also expecting animations and sounds, but I didn't say how many because I don't care. If I see an animation and hear a sound in your video, you're good to go. If you want to do more than that, do more than that. Okie dokie.